Tilray Brands, ticker symbol TLRY. In this video, we're going to talk about the price prediction, short-term, mid-term, long-term on Tilray. We're also going to talk about Tilray's change in direction. I've talked long and hard about Tilray going to $40 a stock in the long term and $6 in the short to medium term. And I'm going to share with you my thoughts on how I think that has changed. And I'm also going to share my thoughts on the purchase of the breweries, what that means for the stock. So a lot to unpack in this video. So stick with me. We've got a Tilray Brands video now for you discussing all those things. So let's get straight into the video. If it's your first time, consider subscribing to my channel. I go live up to 10 hours a day. I aim to be the most honest, real channel on YouTube TV. I built a YouTube TV studio, and I'm not here to pump and dump the stocks. I'm here to build a community, and we have members in 39 countries right now, many of those into Tilray as Tilray investors. So let's look at Tilray today and see where we're going. As you can see, Tilray is down today quite considerably. Now, I have said repeatedly that this stock in the short term could do $6, in my opinion. This is only my opinion. I also believe that it could be a $40 stock. Now, I came to that assumption from doing my research, looking at the balance sheet, looking at what the company owns, looking at their position, and in particularly their position in the cannabis sector. And that's what really interested me on this stock originally. And if we look at their website right now, there's been a bit of a rebrand right now, and I don't think Tilray knows where it's going right now. Let me explain what I mean. This is Tilray Brands, and things are looking a bit different here on their website right now. They focus at the top. If we zoom on in, you'll see they're talking about Tilray is a global leader in cannabis research, cultivation, processing, and distribution. We aspire to lead, legitimize, and define the future of our industry by building the world's most trusted cannabis and hemp company. Sounds great. Sounds great. That's why I bought it in the first place. And looking at their dominance in that sector led me to the assumption that the stock could rise to $40 once we had full legalization, safe banking, all that kind of stuff passed by Congress in the United States. Now, we know that has already come to other parts of the world, but not here in the US just yet. That's how I calculated it, because their dominance in the sector, they're buying up smaller ones and so on. When things started to change for me is when Tilray made a few, in my opinion, fundamental mistakes. Now, just full disclosure, I have made money out of Tilray. I'm up on Tilray. How did I do it? Well, what happened was a few months ago, Irwin Simon decided to dilute the stock at the worst time. He needed to raise money to pay off debts, and there was a lot of in-board fighting. People on the board were selling their shares. We cover all the earnings live, so we know what goes on, and we research it. We know people on the ground. I have friends that follow me and involved with Tilray Brands, as I do for all the stocks I buy. I get involved fundamentally, build relationships with people that work there. I know what's going on and so on. A lot of people were unhappy, were selling out. Irwin Simon, I beg your pardon, said he would never sell his shares. He would hold his position and so on and so forth. And as I know, till this day, that is still the case. But others on the board had sold, and they diluted the stock. They diluted the stock when it was down, which was the worst thing to do, but they did it. Now, they said it was done for good reasons on the earnings. Everything was fine. The balance sheet was fine. But yet they decided to do that. So I don't think things are as fine as you may assume. Then what they decided to do was start, because they wasn't getting any progress with the legislation going through, they decided to diversify and kind of hide under the radar, if you like, by buying more breweries. Now, they've always been a brewery business. They don't just do cannabis. They have all the alcoholic beverages. They have one of the best whiskeys in the world. They say the best whiskey in the world. I'm not sure that's quite true. Having come from England and have family in Scotland, I think you're stretching it a bit, but nevertheless, they started to buy some breweries, and they made a lot of ground out of this, saying the breweries that we're buying are great breweries. We're adding amazing breweries to our brand. They've always said we are Tilray Brands. However, for those of you that understand a bit about breweries, again, from England and Scotland, we have breweries that go back hundreds of years, have great pedigree and so on, then we know what a good brewery is. I don't think the breweries that have been purchased by, in fact, I know because I've done the research, some of the breweries that they bought were breweries on their arses, to be quite frank. They were some breweries were just a handful of years old, and so they have no real brand. They have no real business at all. They were just in a very bad situation, and they bought up a load of cheap, rubbish breweries, if I'm quite honest. A couple with some names and note, but the rest were pretty average. So I think Tilray Brands now has lost its direction. Now, when it popped up, on the news of the breweries, I actually took, we're going to cover that news, by the way, in a second. I actually took a profit. I sold all of my position on my main account, my brokerage, and my Roth account. And I took some flack for doing that. People said, oh, you're crazy. Tilray Brands, you said it's going to $60. I said, yes. But now the business has changed. The reason why I bought it has changed. I'm not in the business of buying a brewery business. Couldn't care less about a brewery business. It's oversaturated. Loads of people are in the brewery business. Couldn't care less about it. There's much bigger players, DraftKings, the list goes on. I don't want a brewery business in my portfolio. I wanted the number one cannabis business in my portfolio. That may never happen. It should happen. It could take years. Now, the price target on Tilray Brands can still be $6 in the medium term, and it could even be $40 in the long term. But how many years have I got to wait? I can make that money pretty much anywhere else, come back and buy this again in a year, 2 years, 5 years. Let's say in 10 years, it does go to $60. By then, I've made the money anyway, without waiting around. So, you're waiting forever. Anyway, I don't think its move into breweries was a good move. I think it's lost direction. People don't know what they're buying anymore, and it's being dumped all the time. Anyway, let's and before it got dumped, it popped up. Typical thing, buy the rumor, sell the news. Everybody got excited going, wow, this is great. They're buying all these breweries. Whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-doo. It went up and I said, I'm selling it. This is no good. Took a profit and I'm glad I did. And now I'm out of the stock. And I've got people who come on my show telling me Tilray Brands is going to go up and going to make millions and all the rest of it. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. But right now, it's a completely different business. Let's look at this report here. Tilray is buying beverage brands from Molson Coors. It's buying more and more breweries. These are all very small new breweries. Let's have a little look at it and see what this report here from Stefan Sykes has to say. Leading cannabis company Tilray Brands is expanding its beverage portfolio in hopes of attracting a wider consumer base. See, this makes no sense. People that bought Tilray bought it as the number one cannabis stock. Imagine if Apple suddenly started buying, I don't know, Coca-Cola because it couldn't sell phones. Don't get me wrong. Big businesses have shares in other businesses. Amazon own IonQ. Amazon own Rivian. Absolutely. But it's not because they can't do their core business. They're shifting into a new business. You might as well just buy the best brewery business rather than Tilray Brands. The company this month announced a range of acquisitions from beverage giants Molson Coors and Anheuser-Busch. As growth in the North American cannabis industry stalls, weed-focused companies aim to expand their portfolios. That's all very well and good, but you can't just become something else because you can't make your original business work. That, in my opinion, makes no sense. But, what do I know? What do I know? Tilray Brands is expanding its footprint in alcoholic and cannabis beverages, buying up brands from Molson Coors and Anheuser-Busch as legal restrictions hamper the marijuana industry. The major cannabis company announced Friday it will acquire the remaining 57.5% equity of ownership of cannabis-infused drinks maker Trust Beverage from Molson and Coors Canada. The transaction price was not disclosed. Remember, they could be buying businesses that are failing. Lots of businesses are failing right now, and you end up just buying loads of rubbish businesses. I mean, I'm sure they're looking into it. They're smarter than me. However, this is not why I bought the company. So I'm out. I made money and I'm out. The move comes amid a broader push by Tilray to branch out from more traditional cannabis products. Tilray announced earlier this month that it would acquire 8 beer and beverage brands from Anheuser-Busch for $85 million. It was the last in a string of craft beer acquisitions that has made Tilray one of the biggest forces in the space in the US. Fine. Do you want to be in a craft brewery business? It always was partly, but now it's wholly. Even on its website, it's still focusing on cannabis. This is what I'm saying. It doesn't know what it is anymore. Tilray is one of the largest cannabis companies in the world with a market cap of $1.7 billion. The company also specializes in beverages and wellness products and has become the 5th largest craft beer in the US. The Trust acquisition is part of a larger diversification strategy underway at Tilray. Now understand what we've just witnessed with J&J. J&J got so large, it split off from its pharmaceuticals to its domestic products. Because it's a good idea not to be all things to all men. You need to focus and have priorities, and that's why it separated its business. Whereas Tilray just seems to feel it's right to own everything, everywhere, and be everything to everyone. I'm not so sure this is the way forward. THC beverages and craft beer are among the fast-growing beverages sectors that have caught the interest of cannabis executives. Tilray said the deal to buy the remainder of Trust makes it the leader in adult use cannabis beverages in Canada with a combined market share of about 36%. The company said in its new release that cannabis beverages present a significant opportunity to reach legal-aged consumers who haven't explored cannabis yet. It also expects regulatory shifts to fuel substantial growth for the market. Blair McNeil, the president of Tilray Canada, said the acquisition will further diversify our product offerings while broadening our consumer reach. What do you think? Do you think Tilray still have the edge by doing this? I'm not so sure because, again, if we look back on their website, they are all about the cannabis sector as their focus, and they haven't updated that. All right, if they're the world's leader, why haven't they updated that? That's what this says here. If you go on their website, the investor pages, we're all about cannabis legalization and all the rest of it. And as I speak about it very often, as I talk about a stock in a certain direction, it moves. Not because I have any influence whatsoever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just, I'm on the news. I'm looking at what this is happening today. So don't misunderstand me. I know my channel doesn't move stocks either way. It's not about that anyway, even if it could. But Tilray Brand is selling out. Now, I don't know. Are you buying it? I'd like your thoughts on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a poll. I'm going to give you the chance to vote. Is Tilray all over? Has it lost direction? Remember, it's diluted already. Its value of its shares has already gone down. It's worth less now anyway. It's moving in a whole different direction. If you click above my head, that will take you to our poll on Twitter, on X. I should call it X, really. On X, go and vote on our poll. Do you think that Tilray has still got the potential to go up to $60, or is it now a much lower price target on Tilray? More Tilray news and other things I think you would like down here as well. As always, join us every day for our live show. Take care of your money, your crypto, yourselves, and most importantly, take care of each other.